Whether we are there or not, ITSP Magazine still gets the best stories. Plenty of conferences and events spark our curiosity and allow us to start conversations with some of the world's brightest minds. In person or virtually, Sean Martin and Marco Ciappelli go on location and sit down with them at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Together, we discover what the synergy of these three elements means for the future of humanity. ThreatLocker is a zero-trust endpoint protection platform, providing enterprise-level cybersecurity to organizations globally. With ThreatLocker, you only allow only what you need and block everything else, including ransomware. Learn more at threatlocker.com.
Did you hit record, Sean?
Well, that's the topic of our chat, isn't it?
Boom.
Tell somebody not to do
Doom.
something, we do it anyway?
That's exactly what it is.
Sounds like that's what it is. Correct.
So here we are. We're rolling.
We are. Are you sure?
I think so.
Do you want to double check?
I know we're rolling.
All right, good.
And we're here in Melbourne. And our good friend Mikko. Good to see you, man.
Thanks for having me again, guys.
There is something about running into people that you've seen other part of the world, and in one day. So Joe, Joe Carson, he says hi, by the way, just saw him now.
Yes.
Excellent.
So
we
cool.
keep meeting each other in different time zones, right?
I know. It's kind of cool. Different weather, different places. Never know
Same
what the weather is going to be here.
In different ways.
Yeah. Well, this is a different conversation.
Or different conversation in the same way, or same conversation in a different way.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm trying to
Did you know how many
everybody.
people live in Melbourne? It's over 5 million.
5 million,
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, which is the same that lives in Finland. So it's
The whole country, though.
like, based on my count, it's a big city.
Are there equal number of reindeer to kangaroo?
That's a great
Ratio?
question. I'll get back to you on that.
I think we'll have to follow up on that. But this is fun. It's fun. You're always a good conversation. You think in ways that are super important and get people to also think, which is why we love chatting with you. And so this year's talk here at Australia CyberCon, what's it all about, Mikko?
Well, I tried to build something new. I spoke here exactly a year ago in 2023 CyberCon. Then I spoke about AI. I did a RSA CISO bootcamp briefing here yesterday, and I recycled one of my slides from last year, because last year I had a slide which said that large language models will eventually pick up programming languages well enough that they will be able to find 0 days. That's what I said last year. And I was challenged after my talk here in Melbourne by two different local guys, and that's not going to happen, and they will never be able to find 0 days, and that's going to take 40 years. Like, shut up, Mikko. Well, it's been a year. It's been 12 months. We have 4 0 days found by AI. Two of them by Google, one of them by Grospo, one of them by this Indian researcher. So it's happening. But I didn't want to do a keynote on the big stage about the same topic. So I'm not going to do just an AI talk. I wanted to expand a little bit about it. So my title for the keynote in Australian Cyber Conference 2024 is going to be We Can't Go Back. It's about how once we invent something, we are stuck with the invention. We cannot uninvent things. Even if the invention turns out to be a bad invention, we're stuck with it. And every technological revolution brings us benefits and problems, and we can't get just the benefits. And then in my talk, I go through a gazillion different examples on how this actually works out in
probably the guy invented the wheel. Somebody was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I just run on my feet. That sucks.
A lot of people have died because of the innovation.
So. But yet, we're still
How many
using
times
it.
have we referenced the tracks and like from Pompeii, where the distance of the wheels between the carriage became the distance of the wheels on the
right.
on the
Apparently.
Okay.
I'm not sure that's
I don't
the
know.
truth. But anyway, it's stick.
But
Technology
I
stick.
was just recently there, and the tracks from those wheels are very prevalent in Pompeii.
Yeah.
And you're only going to ride on those streets with those.
You actually were there, or
Yeah.
are you? He's pulling our leg, right?
I had no idea.
No,
I stopped listening to him a long
there in the
time ago.
I was working from Pompeii.
Yeah, sure. All right,
But anyway, my point is that technology is literally embedded in that city.
Right.
true.
You're stuck with it.
Yeah.
True.
But a great example on how a technological innovation, we can't get rid of it even if we wanted to. For example, strong encryption. Strong encryption, which clearly is very beneficial. We all use it all the time, but at the very same time, bad people use it as well. The fact that terrorists or criminal organizations can encrypt their data so that law enforcement and intelligence agencies can follow what they're saying, I think everybody agrees that is a problem, but we have no solution for it because we cannot uninvent an innovation like that. Even if we wanted to get rid of strong encryption, let's say we pass laws that, you must not use strong encryption. Of course, criminals would still use it because that's what criminals do.
You can't just erase it.
Criminals are criminals because they break the laws. So we could try to do something else. Okay, let's remove all applications like Signal and WhatsApp, and let's remove SSL from all the browsers. Well, you can walk into any library anywhere in the world and get a Math 101 book, and it will explain to you how to implement public key encryption because it's been invented. We can't get rid of it. So every innovation we're stuck with it forever, even if it turns out to be a bad innovation. Clearly, strong encryption is more good than bad, but for example, Tor. We could argue that Tor, I would say we've seen more trouble because of Tor than upsides. And I know perfectly well the history of Tor. I know people use it in, totalitarian countries to gain access to public internet. You can publish information freely, but like in my daily job, I see the downsides all too often. Not just the obvious things like ransomware and all the leak sites, but trading of stolen credentials, credit card information, and worse, weapons, drugs, you say it. And we can't get rid of that either. So every technological innovation brings us benefits and problems. Sometimes the problems are bigger than the benefits, but even then it's very hard to get rid of that technology.
Can you adjust it though? If you figure out that there's more negative than positive, does society or legislators or society itself, culture, does some adjustment to make it better?
Well, sometimes you can't adjust. Think about blockchain. Think about cryptocurrencies. Think about Bitcoin, all right? That's a currency based on math.
Right.
Real world currencies, like your dollars or my euro, they're based on politics, right? If something is based on politics, you can regulate it. You can change it with laws. You can change everything around it. If it's based on math, you can change nothing about it. Math doesn't care about your laws and regulations. It's sort of like if a country could pass a law which would change the value of pi or p. So instead of 3.14, we could pass a law, it's 4.14. We could pass a law like that, it changes nothing.
You can try to allow it, but you can't change it.
We can try to regulate blockchain traffic or Bitcoin traffic.
Right.
It will
but the
completely
invention
ignore it.
itself, you're not going to change it.
Yeah. The only thing we can regulate with cryptocurrencies or blockchain is the interaction with real world currencies and cryptocurrencies, like exchanges, that you can regulate, that you can affect with laws, but traffic inside the blockchain, it completely ignores your laws and regulations because it's based on math, and math doesn't care.
How far does this go for you? Clearly we're talking about technological innovations. When we start getting into AI creating stuff for us and changing perhaps the way we think, can that be undone?
No. I'm sorry, but it cannot.
You wish. No.
And I mean, it's interesting when you look at large technological revolution and you take a step back and look at how it all happened, because AI is happening right now, and it's kind of hard to set the focus, like how quick is this revolution and what exactly is it changing right now. The one theme I keep seeing in every large technological revolution is that we tend to overestimate the speed but underestimate the size of the revolution, and this very easily creates this hype cycle and a bubble, and I would argue we are dead center in the middle of a AI bubble right now. And the easy comparison, of course, is the dot-com boom or dot-com hype 1999, 2000, where the best example to current, younger people on how big it was is simply to show the all-time stock chart of companies like Intel or Cisco, whose all-time high stock value still today is in 1999. Intel has never reached their all-time high. Cisco has never reached their all-time high, which was 25 years ago. That's how big the bubble was. And I have a feeling that Nvidia's all-time high 25 years from now will still be in 2024.
Interesting, because I've heard this comparison before, where the internet enabled the creation of that bubble. The bubble burst, the internet stayed.
Yeah, and it stayed for a reason. I mean, okay, what caused the bubble? It was great expectation about this new technology which is going to change the world. That's why investors wanted to put money into it. So, what were the promises, concrete promises that were given to investors about the internet in 1999? Well, it was promises like, eventually people will be doing online shopping. Eventually everybody will be watching movies and TV online, on the internet. And of course, that all happened. All the promises came true and much, much more. But, and here's the kicker, it didn't happen in 1999 or 2000 or 2001 or 2 or 3. As I said, these revolutions take longer than we think, but then they're bigger than we think. And an example on how it's bigger, in 1999, internet meant a desktop computer and a big CRT screen with Netscape. That's internet. Nobody was thinking that this is going to be internet. That everybody, like most of the people on the planet, carry an internet tablet in their pocket, and this is the most common way of accessing the online content. But that's what happened. So they take longer than we think, but then it's different and bigger than we think. It's going to happen with AI as well.
And what about the fact that the new invention become the platform on which other inventions take place? I was having a conversation last year at CES with somebody from Nokia, and we were talking about how long it took for the internet to create the infrastructure, and how in 1 year at the time or less, everybody had already access to generative AI, because there was already the infrastructure for that. So do you touch on that as well?
Yeah, I do, because these revolutions, major revolutions, happen slowly, suddenly. That's what happened with AI very, very, very obviously, because we've been waiting for this for decades. The first time I read about artificial intelligence was in 1983. 1983. I was 13 years old. I still have the magazine, like Popular Science magazine published back home in Finland, which had an 8-page article about how one day we will be able, even more importantly, they got this right. One day, mankind's knowledge, information, everything we collectively have learned will no longer be on paper. One day it's going to be data, which that's what happened. Like in 1983, everything was in books, right? It was on paper. You can't feed paper to computers. Well, today, everything, all the knowledge we've ever built is data. Fun fact, even that 1983 magazine is available online today as a PDF. The publishing house still exists. They've scanned their old archives. Like, even obviously all the new information we generate is natively data, but even all the old information. So we needed the revolution of being able to digitize information and the revolution of internet and the revolution of cloud for the AI revolution to be even possible. And that's why it took so long. We didn't require the computing power which we only now have at our disposal, and the fact that all of mankind's knowledge throughout the centuries is now data. We can and have fed it into computers.
I did a post on this the other day. I want to say it's 1999. I was at Symantec at the time. We bought IBM's antivirus business.
Right, yeah.
Which included what we branded as the digital immune system, which was Watson.
Right, yeah.
In the cloud. Validating or analyzing malware, writing signatures, because it was AI. From IBM.
Not generative
Watson,
AI, but
not
AI.
AI. Exactly.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Doing security.
IBM antivirus still has my favorite user interface of all time. Remember what the Windows version looked like? You got to explain it to the viewers.
I'll let you do that.
They had a Windows box, a user interface which had a massive button, one button which says press here to scan your system. To make it as easy and as obvious as possible. You start the antivirus, there's one button and you press it and it scans your computer. Beautiful.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you had to do?
It gets the user interface and user experience reward from me. Unfortunately, the product didn't survive.
Yeah. No, it didn't. Oh, yeah. Many stories behind that, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is the lesson? What is the moral of the story that you want people from your talk, well, here that you already done, but even when you do it again, what do you want them to walk away with?
To understand that in technology and in innovations and in revolutions, everything is a trade-off. Like, we will not be able to get just the upsides, no matter how much we'd like to. Of course, we'd like to get just the benefits, none of the problems, but they are bolted on together. And this will apply, I'm confident, to all future technological revolutions as well. Because it happened with social media, it happened with online access, it happened with mobile phones. Look how we're glued to the screen, especially maybe the younger, maybe us, but also the younger people are glued to the doom scrolling, where there's always a new funny video around a topic we didn't even know we loved, but it somehow figured it out.
Yeah.
So everything we can innovate brings us upsides and downsides, and we just have to accept.
Yeah.
And they're working on legislation here in Australia to ban social media, I believe, right?
Well, not ban it, but not allow under 16 years old
to access it. Yeah.
to access social media.
How do you feel about that?
Well, that's the question I asked to a few people today. Myself, how do I feel? I think that the right metaphor was JJ, which is the person we interviewed today. She does talk about 10 tasks that people can have to be cyber secure, that they're nothing to do with IT, and then talks about kids online. She said, you don't just give somebody a driver license and say, here are the keys of the car.
Right.
There is a cultural process that takes time where you start teaching a kid, hey, look at the street, left and right, where you cross the street. There is a traffic light. Go on the bike, here's where the stop sign is. And so her thing is like, you don't understand, you don't all of a sudden get somebody a car, right? So her position was, yes, social media are dangerous, but you can't just shut it down, and then when you become 16 years old, here you go, social media. You're not trained to it.
Right.
So that's kind of my approach.
I'm also interested in how they define social media. Like,
right.
We have the obvious ones, like TikToks and Instagrams. But what about like YouTube comments? What about IRC, Teams? Yeah. Is that social media? I don't know.
Yahoo Messenger.
Messenger. Yeah.
They also passed another brand new law here in Australia yesterday. Actually, they have the 2024 cyber bill, I believe, which now makes it mandatory for companies above a certain size to report to the government when they pay ransom payments for ransomware. It doesn't outlaw it. You're allowed to pay,
but you got to let them know.
You got to let them know. You have to report it.
How do you feel about that?
I think it's a good move, actually.
Really?
Better than outlaw.
Better not allow it?
I don't think we should outlaw it. I don't think we. Okay, let me give you an example on this. 3.5 years ago, we had the largest single crime in our country. When you look at the number of victims in one single crime, 31,980 victims in one single crime. This was the Vastaamo Psychotherapy Center breach that happened in Finland. A large private psychotherapy center was hacked.
I remember that.
The attacker stole all the notes, was blackmailing first the center, then the individual victims. Give me Bitcoin or I'll leak your shrink's notes. A lot of the victims were underage, were small children even, all kinds of awful stuff was there, and in the end it almost leaked, which resulted, reportedly, I don't have first-hand knowledge, but reportedly multiple suicides happened because of this case. And I would argue that the psychotherapy center should have paid the ransom.
In that particular case?
I would argue they would have been less damage. I'm not a fan of giving money to criminals at all. I always advise don't pay the ransom. We all know it's going to become a bigger problem the more ransoms are paid. But for example, for that case, I would argue that they should have paid the ransom. So
what is the bigger cost, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
have to figure out
like
the
a
trade-off.
hospital, is it gonna
And we've had this
kill
conversation
people?
too.
Yeah,
Hospitals ransom.
Yeah, these are complicated cases, and there's still strict rules. It really would be one-on-one cases on what's really happening. But to set a law which just bans it, I don't think that's the right solution either.
Which brings you back to the beginning, I think, of when you invent something, bad or good, you can't just forget about
There's
it.
several innovations in play with ransomware. We had to innovate strong encryption. It wouldn't work without strong encryption.
Right.
We had to innovate Tor, that's where the leak sites run, and of course cryptocurrencies, because that's how they collect the payments. So, yep, these technologies can be used to build great things or to build awful things.
Yep. And there's always been historically some people, like you can see it now with artificial intelligence, generative AI, and maybe the actors that don't want to clone their voice or their image, the writers. The Ludities back during the Industrial Revolution, they went and crushed the machine.
Yeah.
But guess what? They're still machines, and AI is still there. So there is always going to be a resistance, and it's understandable.
Yeah.
Somebody may lose a job. But to try to stop progress, is that another lesson there?
In most languages, the word for computer comes out of Latin, computare, which means to calculate. So in English, computer is a calculator, right?
Yep.
In other languages, like of Deutsch, in German it would be a Datron, a data handling machine. In Norwegian it would be data machine which has information. But in Finnish, my home language, it's tietokone, which means knowledge machine. It's the machine which knows. And I've worked with computers all my life, and computers have known nothing. They've only done exactly what you tell them to do.
Right.
And now, finally, that's starting to change, isn't it? Now we are actually building devices that know. Even better, if you remember how Douglas Adams explained in Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy, a guide that everybody has in their pocket, which has answers to everything. We've built that. You have it. You have it in your pocket. It's real. Isn't it wild? We are living in the future, guys. But the future has upsides and downsides, and we can't just get the upsides.
And the future is now.
The future's now.
Future's now.
That's the theme here.
That's the theme of the conference.
Is that how you're going to wrap this?
I don't know. We can keep talking.
I'm cool. I don't know. I think Mikko has
You
something to do.
you heard it here first. Future's now.
The future is now.
All right.
Well,
I think, clearly we could talk to you for hours, Mikko, but we won't keep you. We'll let this ruminate for folks and scare many of them, I'm sure.
There was nothing scary here. It's all true.
Well, just the idea that you can't go back.
Yeah.
Right? That there's no eraser. There's
No time machine.
no time machine.
No going back.
well, you're already in the future, and then in the present, and then in the future, and then in the present, and you can go back in the past.
Maybe this is why I like retro gaming so much. That takes you back
It does.
to a more innocent time.
What's your favorite one?
I'm very, very much into pinball nowadays.
Okay.
Pinball.
Very retro.
I actually play competitively. I just participated in the Finnish championship last weekend, so yeah.
No
I
way.
try, yeah.
We have a tradition.
We do.
When we go to RSA conference, I don't know if you've ever been in San Francisco, there is a museum of arcade game,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And they have a lot of pinballs.
Yes, they do.
And so we go there and we challenge each other. I usually win.
Okay, next
I'm
time.
not champion.
Are you
I'm not
inviting me next time?
We are.
Okay.
We want to
Absolutely.
see a true
I'll challenge you
pro
guys.
All right.
how plays pinball.
I won't let you win, but we'll be beaten no less.
I'll kick your ass. I'll kick your ass first and then yours.
There you go.
Thanks,
I'll
guys.
take you up on that.
All right,
Mikko.
Mikko, always
a pleasure.
pleasure.
Thanks, man.
Always great conversation.
All right.
And thanks
And
everybody.
you guys stay tuned. There's more conversation like this coming up here from Melbourne, Australia. Stay tuned, subscribe, and we'll be right back with more.
Sweet.
Cool, love it. That's great.
Like, subscribe, and hit the bell.
Exactly.
ThreatLocker is a zero-trust endpoint protection platform, providing enterprise-level cybersecurity to organizations globally. With ThreatLocker, you only allow what you need and block everything else, including ransomware. Learn more at threatlocker.com. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Sean and Marco's on-location event coverage conversations. Please take a moment to give the show a good rating and leave a comment. Remember to share this podcast with your friends, family, and colleagues. Come back for more conversations and follow Sean Martin and Marco Ciappelli as they continue their journey toward redefining cybersecurity and society.